Good morning and good evening, lovely people. This is another Up Spiral Brief interview. Today, I want to introduce to you a very beautiful friend of mine, Romana. And I'm going to start with your name, Romana, because I just absolutely love it. People who will see you here on Facebook will not only see you as Romana Hasenöhrl, which is your real name. Yes, it is your real name. But they will see you as Romana Hasenöhrl. I'd love for anyone to try to repeat that, especially the English-speaking people. And yeah, welcome to the Up Spiral Brief interview. Please enlighten us about that middle name. How did you get to that?
Hi, Marie, and thank you for having me. I'm
You're
so
welcome.
happy to be here. Yeah, I mean, the Hasenöhrl part is like tricky enough for English-speaking people. I know that. And that's a very old name, an Austrian name. So when you hear it, you know that person comes from Austria.
Yeah.
And the Sommerspross part is, oh, that's an old story because I'm a person who got freckles, which is Sommersprossen in German.
Yeah.
And I guess I was 18 or 19. I met a boy, a man, whatever, and he like wanted to know my name, and we came up with that Sommerspross. That was kind of a nickname, and I don't know how that happened. I just kept it. So some people like even wrote letters to me with Romana Sommerspross. And as I'm living in a little village, and always was living in villages, the postman knew that that was me. So
That is so
there never
funny.
was any problem. Yeah, it is. And when I started on Facebook, which is what was quite at the beginning of it, you know, people were not used to what's happening here when Facebook started. So some of them, and I was one of those persons, said, "Oh, I don't want that everybody can find me." So I started with Romana Sommerspross.
Oh,
And
okay.
then you get all those connections with people who know you and people of your family. And all of a sudden, Facebook asked me one day, "Hey, that's not your real name. We want your real name. Otherwise, you
Really?
get like
Wow.
deleted." And I was, how can they know? I mean,
How can they know that Freckle is not my real name?
so I thought, okay, but people got so used to that Sommerspross
Yeah.
already. So I kept it in the middle and got my real name in, and Facebook was happy with that. And
I
that's the
absolutely love
story.
it because I needed to ask about this story because this is actually my story, how I met you. I don't know if you know that part, but like I actually came across that name in the group that we've been in together. And I remember one day seeing your name, we're like, she must be from Austria. Romana Sommerspross Hasenöhrl. I mean, Hasenöhrl itself is so Austrian, as you said, for those people from Austria, you know, instantly it's not German, it's definitely Austrian. And I asked it, sure enough, and that's how we connected. And the connection turned into a really, really strong and beautiful friendship. And I just absolutely love that. And the reason why I invited you to come to this interview today is not only have you been through some of my courses, and I would love to talk to you about that in front of our beautiful audience here, but also to talk about a topic that I find really, really important to share in this very group here. And that is for people who have lost their grandparents. And you're one of them, Romana, and that is why you went through one of my healing journeys. And I'd love to talk to you about that because the standard go-to that most people, that society throws at us that I can't handle and really don't like is when they say, oh, well, she's been old and she had a good life anyway. It is almost like as if it didn't matter that they die. But to the person like you, for example, that has got a very strong relationship, which you had with your grandmother, it is just as detrimental as if it was your parent or somebody else close to your heart. So we're diving straight into this topic here. Romana, would you mind sharing from your perspective how you came into that cause and how you know, we're coming back and forth from where the name started and how I came across you and then how you came into our course. So would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, sure. Um, that was in in September. Yeah. In
Last year.
September last year, yeah, my grandma died at the age of 94. And we've been celebrating her birthday in July. Like I got a huge cake. It looked like a garden because she was a passionate gardener. So we had all those tiny carrots and
You made the
salads.
cake, didn't you?
No, I have a friend who does that because I'm really not able to do these tiny things.
I just knew it was like homemade. I thought it was you.
Yeah, it was really a real homemade, lovely cake. And that was so lovely because I did an interview with her on that day. And I wanted her to tell people how to live a happy life, to tell young people, because she was a real happy person. And in that interview, she said that she wanted to get 100. And I mean, I'm not a kid anymore, but I was really like, yeah, she promised.
Yeah.
Now we will celebrate her 100th birthday. And in September, when she got to the hospital, she had problems with her lungs. And we were not allowed to visit in hospital due to the COVID situation. So that at the beginning felt terrible for me. And then we got told that she's better. And after one day in hospital, she just died. And for me, that was really like, it's so hard to explain because it felt like I just jumped out of my body. I was watching myself. I was watching myself like doing my daily stuff and organizing, and I prepared a speech for the church. So
the eulogy,
yeah, but it was as if I was kind of in a bad movie. I felt terrible, but at the beginning I couldn't even cry. I was just like out of my body. And then I was so lucky because I had joined your group already. But then you started one of the weekly programs. And that was, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks after. And I thought, oh, I have to join that because I couldn't talk to anybody. So even my mom, whose mother she was, or my aunt, they were like, so for me, it felt so cold and so done. Okay, that's done. She was 94. Yeah, what? And I really realized, for friends, it was the same. Of course, they don't react like your mother does, but they were kind of, now you cry for 3 weeks and then it's done. And that was for me the hardest part, to feel kind of not understood.
That's just that part, that everybody's like, well, she's 94, she had a good life. And I also want to emphasize here that your relationship with your grandmother was a lot closer and stronger than you have with your mom, actually. So she was really the closest person to you in your family. Is that right?
Yeah, I grew up with her. So for the first 4 years of my life, which are the most important ones we know. And I had a very strong connection. So for the last, I don't know, I guess 27 years we met every Thursday, and grandma was preparing lunch, and then we played cards. So that is very close. And she's been a real, cool woman. She's been driving her own car till the age of 82. And then when she had to stop because it kind of got a bit dangerous, she did stuff like telling people, for example, her grandson, like, I gonna take you there and there. And when they arrived, she didn't stop the car. She told people to hop out. That's possible because stopping is so much effort. so then it Yeah, so her kids just like told her maybe it's better you stop driving. And then she came to me and said, that's so terrible for me because I can't go where I want on my own anymore. And then we came up to that, okay, every Thursday we do lunch and playing cards, and then I drive you wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
And so that was very special for the last 12 years that we met really every Thursday and did our shopping tour. Like, the groceries and the pharmacy and whatever she wanted to go. And that kind of brought us even closer. Because when you're sitting in the car and driving around, you start talking in a different way. So like, how is it to get that old? Or I asked her stuff pretty open. Even, are you afraid of dying? Because I am. And she was so cool. She said, no, come on. Her husband died when she was 34.
Wow.
And yeah, she never married again. So she stayed alone with 3 kids. And I remember that when she got 60, she told me, I think I've done everything here. So she always said, if God needs me, he can pick me up right now. And I said, oh, come on, you can't do that. You're 60.
Yeah.
So I knew that she's not afraid. And she kind of knew that grandpa will wait for her. That was a thing that she knew.
Do you mind me asking, because I never knew that, how did your grandfather die that early?
That was a car crash.
So a car crash?
A car crash,
wow.
Yeah. That was in the 1960s, and that was really, I think that was really hard for grandma, because he just went with a friend to test a new car. He wanted to buy that car. And they got in a car crash. That was just, simple thing. Main road, another road, and the person coming from the other road didn't realize that he's not allowed to just drive on.
Wow.
And yeah, that in these days you weren't with all that insurances and money you'd get. So she was her youngest kid was 4. And she was in that situation, damn it, I have to find some work now, otherwise we don't make our living. And from the feminism side of that story, that's weird also, because in these days in Austria, you were not allowed to raise your kids by yourself. You needed a man who took care. So there was some uncle who had to be asked, for example, which school you put the kids in or stuff like that. That's the weird part of it, of course.
I never knew that.
That was strange. I mean, I as I'm a feminist, I deal a lot with topics like that. In Austria, for example, I guess it was up to 1974. You had to ask your husband if you are allowed to work as a woman.
Yeah. I want to do a quick sidestep here before we come back to that story, because I just realized our audience doesn't even know what you do. Give us a bit of a background about what you studied, what you do, because you've got quite an interesting range of things that you did in the background, and side jobs and studying and main job.
How much time we have?
Oh, well, we can stretch it a bit.
No, first of all, I studied, I don't know how to translate that, but originally I'm a teacher for kids between 10 and 14.
Yeah.
So I studied English and biology. But then I decided that's not the right thing I want to do, and studied politics
Mm-hmm.
and journalism,
Mm-hmm.
and I like financed that university studies by driving a cab in the night. So that kind of took a while, the
Yeah.
studies, because I was driving a lot.
Yeah, it's so funny because just before we
And
started that interview, I saw your live video in the group and you were just talking about that driving in the night. I'm like, I need to ask her that in the interview as well. So I'm glad I just saw that because I had forgotten about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there was some like these days, it was not normal that a woman
Yeah.
drove a cab in the night. So
Yeah.
I got asked that question a lot. So are you scared?
Mm.
And I always thought that's the most hated question,
Yeah.
because you never would ask a male cab driver,
Mm.
are you scared? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody would do that.
The
So,
feminism coming through. I love it.
yeah. But yeah, luckily due to my studies of journalism, I ended up at Austria's big broadcasting company. At
Mm.
these days, it was the only one.
Mhm.
And I worked for the TV for 17 years.
Mm.
So I did most of the behind camera stuff, like director's assistants and um, set runner. So I don't know all the stuff in English, but mostly all what you can do behind the camera.
Mm.
And I really, really loved that.
Yeah.
And yeah, in 2013, I got self-employed, because before, during that time at the TV, I studied astrology,
Mhm.
which was another strange story how that came into my life.
I'd love to hear that
And so
too.
I
That is amazing. I love like it's so colorful, like the whole, like driving a cab and working for television and studying astrology and being a feminist and being like it's just like I'm being a teacher, you've like literally done the whole range of interesting and out there jobs and I absolutely love it. So yeah. How on earth and when did astrology come into that?
yeah, that was one of the strangest story in my life. And since that, I really believe that life kind of pushes us to where it wants us to be.
Yeah.
Because I was a very science person, if you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can't see, I mean, is not there and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did skydiving a
Mm-hmm.
lot in
Yeah.
these days, and I
How many
had
jumps did you do in
oh
your life? That is another crazy thing. It's not just skydiving. She tried it once or twice or 10 times. How many jumps did you have in your life, roughly?
400. Yeah.
Wow.
I still miss it. I still miss it. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I mean, I started paragliding as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that's
As you do.
the
Yeah.
thing old people can do. I'm still young, I'm skydiving, but when I'm getting older, I want to go paragliding, which is like, so I needed some insurance for getting older.
Yeah.
And I had an accident,
Mm.
ruined my right knee. And okay, once in a while you have an accident, that's not the problem. So, but this accident started a whole series. So within 1.5 years, I had 5 bad accidents.
Mm.
So I
All with
broke my
skydiving?
arm and, pardon?
All through skydiving or randomly different
No, no,
accidents?
no. Walking, running, motorcycle, paragliding, so the whole range. And after the 5th accident, I was like with that, I couldn't walk properly because of the knee and had a big plaster
Mm.
cast. You say plaster
Yeah.
cast here?
Yeah.
And then I really got the thread. The next part would be I get outside and like kind of a like space shuttle falls on my head or something like that. So I thought, okay, you're getting scared now. That's weird. So I went to a psychotherapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted her to tell me, am I like self-destroying, or
Yeah.
is there something going on in my soul? I won't know. I
Mm.
just wanted to be clear and get rid of that fear.
Yeah.
And she told me, no, you're not a self-destroying person. It's bad luck. Or why don't you go and see an astrologer? And I looked at her and thought,
From a
this
psychotherapist, I would not expect that.
this lady is completely out of her mind. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's so strange. And I said,
Sat and
I'm
smiled.
sorry, but I won't like throw 200 euros to some person who tells me
Yeah.
something about the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, please give it a try. There's kind of a free afternoon, not for individual
Mm-hmm.
horoscopes,
Yeah.
but she's just talking about the elements, fire, water,
Yeah.
earth, and air.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went there and thought, okay, then that therapist stops talking about it and we can head on like this.
Yeah.
And I went there, and that astrologer I saw there talked about people with much fire in their birth chart,
Mm-hmm.
fiery persons.
Yeah.
And I sat there and thought, she's talking about me. I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know much about my uh, birth chart. So I booked, of course, and went there. She told me, I was like really speechless. She
Mm-hmm.
told me everything. And I thought, I have to study that.
Yeah.
I want to know how that works. And so I started the studies at the astrological school in Salzburg that took 3 years.
I had no
And
idea
then I
there
was,
was an astrological school even. I
yeah,
would have been the question, how and where on earth do you even study that? I mean, I know it's out there, but I'd never heard of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most intensive. There are several schools, but
Mm.
one which takes 3 years, which means 36 weekends. That's one of the like biggest studies you can do.
Mm-hmm.
That school doesn't exist anymore, I know.
Yeah.
So after that, I changed to the astrological school in Munich
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to get better in the coaching. The like looking at a birth chart and knowing
Yeah.
what's going on. That's one part, but how do you talk to people?
Yeah.
That's the other part. And I wanted to get perfect.
Yeah.
So I went there, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I got into astrology. And I always
Can
said,
I?
if someday,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah,
No, 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 go.
if someday a person gets to me
Mm-hmm.
and I tell everything I can see, and this person says that's completely wrong, then I stop it immediately. Immediately.
Yeah.
But that never happened. I've
Mm-hmm.
got over 450 clients now in my database, and that
Yeah.
never happened. Yeah.
I want to please request a little ad break here, because I didn't even plan to talk to you about all of that. It just came up, and I thought it's just really, it adds to this whole repertoire of who Romana Hasenöhrl really is, because you've got, it's so colorful, everything you do. You are so colorful. You're one of the funkiest and craziest and most beautiful chicks I know. And I just thought I wanted to bring all of that in there to really, for people to get the full picture of who you are and what you do. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about coming back to your story in a minute, but out of this, you going through the healing journey came this, you wanted to give me an astrology session to say thank you. And I was absolutely overwhelmed by that. And if you would have told me that like a year ago, I would have gone like, yeah, all right, I'll do it for the fun of it. But I didn't really believe in it. And only a few months before you actually came to my healing journey, did I do a course with a lady named Catherine Ord, absolutely beautiful, very talented astrologer as well. And that was a self-development course, but based on astrology, based on a birth chart. And as I said, I knew nothing about it. I was the only person in this whole course that had no idea what she was talking about. Every time when she said about that house and everybody was nodding, it's like, oh, and I was like, what? What
Wow.
does that mean? Fifth house, I've got no idea. And it was like, oh, ooh, the fire and fifth. And it was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I constantly had to check and read it. It was all foreign language to me, completely foreign language. However, this 3 weeks course was so life-changing for me. And it is like one of those courses, I had a lot of those courses that were really life-changing and really beautiful for me. And that was one of them, really intense, really dug up, like really deep stuff, childhood, my career, everything that happened with Rob's passing and how that all, you know, like how you can see that in an astrology chart was completely beyond me. But when I delved into that, I was really amazed by what you can see and what you can, and it's not like a humza predict some, you know, crystal ball sort of stuff like a lot of people think. It is really evidence-based and influence-based from different planets and all of that. And when you really study that, all of a sudden, all of that makes so much sense. And I haven't even studied it, but that was my first, like dipping my toes into that water of astrology. And that is so deep and vast. And then when you offer that to me, I was like head over heels. I'm like, woohoo, I need to do this. This is such a beautiful present. And I was absolutely blown away. And I actually came back for more because I thought this is just mind blowing. Like in particular with where I stand and with my career and everything, it was just really beautiful. So I cannot rave enough about your talents, Romana. And for those sitting on the edge of their chair watching this, yes, Romana will post her link so you can absolutely touch base with her if that's something that speaks to you. And I know that people are quite split about that. There are people who absolutely love it and believe in it, and other people who it's not for them, and that's absolutely okay. It's your choice what you want to do. But if you're interested, Romana will post her link so you can definitely touch base with her. She's absolutely amazing. I absolutely vouch for her. So with that being said, ad break is over. I want to get back to your story. And so I just wanted to side tap into all of that so people get the whole picture of you and who you are. So I want to come back to that part where when your grandmother passed and you decided that you come on board with the healing journey that you did with me. I'd love to know what happened for you there, you know, because there are a lot of people in there that are really new in the group that have never heard of my healing journey. So I always prefer, rather than me talking about that, when people come in and actually tell their own experience, how it felt, what was the before and after, what did you get from it, what was in it for you?
Mhm. Well, that is so much. So it started with the little poster, the manifesto.
Yeah.
It's still here next to my a computer
I've seen it a couple of times in
because
my life, so I'm like,
oh, so lovely. Yeah.
thank you.
Because
I haven't shared
there
it.
was
I will put it in the comments below as well so people know what.
yeah, you have to. And people like, yeah, print it and pin it on your fridge. Or that's so amazing for me
Thank
because
you.
the word love is very often on it.
Mm.
And that was the first, really the first thing that happened. I put that little poster over there and thought, yeah, that's what I've lost. I've
Mm.
lost so much love and understanding.
Mm.
Because in the first journey, we were asked, what did you really lose and how can you give it back to your life, bring it
Mm.
back to your life? So what happened was I really realized how much glue to that family my grandmother was,
Mm.
even though I guess she didn't know about it and nobody else appreciated
Mm.
this. But all of a sudden, after she's passed, my contact, for example, to my sister almost vanished. I mean, I remember she wrote maybe a week after grandma passed, if I wanted to talk, she's here for me. And I was really stubborn because I didn't want to talk about it at this point. And she still is mad at me because I wrote back, I don't want to. So that's the thing I'm working on right now as I'm in your blank canvas. where we talked about that.
Mm.
But at this point, at the beginning, it was so good to just tell, okay, it's been my grandma, and many people don't understand it, but in that group, it was understood.
Mm.
And I remember what was so strange for me. We should write a letter. You remember that, because that took me so long, right?
Yeah.
A letter to ourselves from that person. And I struggled so much with that.
Mm.
And when I started weeks after the course, I realized that brought up so much feelings, so many memories.
Mm.
I couldn't stop writing.
Mm.
So that's maybe the point why I didn't want it, to
Yeah.
get deeper, deeper, deeper.
Mm.
And the strange thing that came with that first week was when they cleaned grandma's apartment.
Mm.
My mom and my aunt and my sister, they had big boxes with photos in them.
Mm.
And they were just like in the basement of my mom's house, and they're still there. So I now started picking them up and going through them. And I was like, wow. I mean, my grandma was born in 1926, which was quite a rough time in Europe. And all the things that came up with that made me researching now. So how did they live? That's such it's interesting and strange, and bringing me back to like deep roots.
Mm.
And what's happening now is that I feel okay, even though I'm not in good contact with my family at the moment, there is something behind that, our like family
Yeah.
who are back there, and they are here for us.
Mm.
So that whole process really started in that week with you, and I really highly recommend that, because I'd never thought of starting a process like that by myself. I was like in grief, and I was mad at my family, and all the things came up. Why did you put Granny to a home for the elderly? I didn't want that. She didn't want it. So we were kind of the gang who didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So all that came up, and I, within that work on myself, I realized that I got stronger. So that's for me the most important part, that I now can tell, for example, my parents what my opinion is, which I never dared to before. That's real. I have no words for that growing that happened.
I'm really grateful to hear that, because I also remember how lost you felt when you first came into the healing journey, and I see you now, and I see you in such a different light. You've really grown like within yourself. There is such strength now when I talk to you, and I really love that. I'd also love to ask you how would you see the difference between the healing journey that you have done, that was at the end of last year when you did that, and now you're in my new program, the Blank Canvas, and I know you're only halfway through, so maybe it's a little bit early days, but would you like to share a little bit about that, because you mentioned it before, that what you're now doing in a program? What was the difference for you coming into the healing journey and doing what you're doing now?
One of the biggest differences is that, of course, it's taking longer, so you have all the time you need, and you get so many perspectives with the live talks with the other members. So the big difference for me now is that so many layers of my personality are touched. For example, that happened 2 days ago. I went back to that. What is my grandma connected with in thinking of that layers? Of course, I grew up with her, and that was early childhood, and that feeling so cozy and getting taught so much. So she taught me gardening, cooking, all that things a woman who was born in 1926 would think that you might need.
Yeah.
And now I need it because, you know, I'm an author. I wrote 8 books up to now, and the last one was a cookbook, an astrological cookbook. So all the techniques, like kneading your own dough, I mean, you have to know that before you start a book, right? You cannot try. So I got all that techniques from her. So that's one thing that came up to me again and again, what presence I have got from her and can keep in love. And the other thing is that, and that's completely new, it's the first time in my life that I realized how connected she is to the big love of my life. So we parted 5 years ago, and we are still in good contact. We are friends. And I think now, with thinking back what she said and how she liked him, she was really the only person realizing that this was my big love. Not even I did get how important that man was for me, and still is. So now what happened this week was that I like lift that layer and take a look. So for example, how did it come that after him there was no serious relationship again? I never thought about that. So we are in a complete different area now. And I really love that because what you do when we talk in our group sessions, you are very light and careful. So you never feel like somebody's like getting your layers off and taking a look under there. So because that I wouldn't like that. But it's so careful, and you make us think ourselves. You know, you don't push. You just take a look. And it's really the first time now since 2015, when we split up, that I'm thinking of, yeah, there is something to heal here in the relationship area. And that would have never gotten to the surface if I've not been working on the grandma topic. That's amazing for me.
It is so beautiful. I love how you describe that. You described it very openly, you know, when you touch into the connections that are happening. And also, in particular for the people that are new in the group, I want to just quickly explain that, because they might be going, what is she on about? What is that? What is she talking about? So we do have the Healing Journey, which used to be a program that I ran quite regularly, and then decided to make it available for everybody. So for those of you in the group, you can just head to the section that is called Guides. You will find that on top of the page underneath the cover photo of Loving Love After Loss, and there's a little menu bar, and I believe it's a third spot from the left, Guides. When you click on it, you find it's the first guide in there. It's called From Grief to Relief, and it's all guided through various videos that you can watch and do it in your own time. So it is a really, really good starting point when you come into this group and you don't even know where to get started with your healing. I really strongly recommend that as a starting point for you. And then whenever you need help with that, you can always reach out to me, send me a private message or book a little call with me. and we can chat where you stand and what you need. And the other program that Romana is talking about is called Blank Canvas. So Romana is in the very first one of the Blank Canvas programs that I'm now running on a regular basis. So the next one will come up on the 3rd of May. So if that's something of interest for you, please just comment below Blank Canvas and I know to reach out to you and we can just chat about it, what the program actually entitles. But in a nutshell, it's all about stepping back into empowerment and forward into creation. That's in a nutshell what the program does. So when you're at the point in your healing journey, in your grieving journey, where you feel like, I want to step forward, but I don't know how and I don't know what to do with my life, but I want to create something that I really love, to find my purpose in all of this, then this would be an absolute perfect program to go through. So just put Blank Canvas in the comments and I know to reach out to you. Romana, you're right in the middle of that program, so the best is yet to come. I love that you are. Yeah. So I really love that you share all that so openly with us, because there is so much that comes up and there are so many layers to work through. And I always recommend to people to actually get started with the healing journey, because it's such a perfect preparation for everything that's to come and really prepares you well for the next program. There's one tiny little thing that I just realized when I was listening to you that you haven't shared with us yet, with your whole beautiful, colorful background in everything that you do. And that is, some people might have wondered what that sign above you actually, why is that there and what do you do? Tell us a little bit about that area of your life. I love it.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Another one.
So I'm yeah, I'm a real circus fan.
Yeah.
And I did some clown workshops in my life. My first one was 20. And I'm in the middle of an online clown workshop right now. So the next will be on April 17th, and I'm so excited. So I love that, finding out your inner clown, which most of the times is a very different person to what you expected or what you wished. So mine is not as I wished him to be or her to be at all. But yeah, there was one thing that is in my mind and I love it. And I have a little dog and she's quite silent today. That's good.
I was actually expecting her to come into the interview.
And what I really missed in those clown workshops, so for example, they last for 5 days and you go somewhere and the dog has to stay in the hotel and blah, blah, blah. So I was looking for a workshop, a circus workshop with dog. So, and the only one I could find is in Bay Area, San Francisco. That was in 2018 when I did that research. And so I planned to go there with my camper van and my doggy, go to San Francisco. So we wanted to ship the car in 2019.
Wow.
And yeah, it took me a whole year of preparation and everything was settled when 10 days before we had to head off to Hamburg to like put the car on the ship. The American insurance company, they changed something and they couldn't give me insurance any longer. And so I was just running out of time. I couldn't fix that stuff before we had it off. And so we had, I canceled everything. We stayed here. Luckily, because otherwise I would have been in Louisiana when COVID like came. So I still think, thank you.
Unbelievable.
So we did a 4-month Europe trip. And when I came back, I brought that sign with me, which I bought in Avignon in France. And I thought, okay, then I do it myself. We have no circus school, okay, no Bay Area circus school. And so I started Circus Wanda. And that's at the moment, as we are not allowed to meet in real, it will start as an online event. So I prepared some nice clown stuff with my dog, and we will go live on that's Sunday the 28th of March at 2 p.m. is that, right? So in the afternoon, and I will just give it a try and see how we work together. She seems to like that clown stuff. So whenever I put on my clown, nose, she
Mhm.
knows something cool is happening. So she kind
Ooh,
of likes it.
you gotta play, you gotta play.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing I love to tell people when it comes to like struggling in life.
Mhm.
Sometimes you fall on your face, okay, but when you get up, something completely new is happening.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. um I mean, I of course the Bay Area circus school, that would have been lovely,
Mm.
sure, but yeah, it's different now.
Yeah.
And I like it. So
I love it. It's
that's
like,
me.
I love that sign in particular, and I can't wait to see you and Wanda in the circus. That's amazing. So I'm really, really happy that it's available online, and please do share the link as well so people can actually watch it. That would be really cool. And
Okay.
and last but not least, I have to check the time. How are we going? Oh yeah, we still got a little bit of time. I need that time frame because I also want to ask you about your beautiful group that you have created. And that was our original touch point because we were both in the same group, in the same environment of building our tribe and growing our groups. And that's how I actually came across you because I think I was at the end of that already at that stage, and you were just starting out. And that's how we overlapped somehow. And I really am so grateful that we did because it really was the start of a very beautiful friendship that is so dear to my heart right now. And I also really, really love the background of your group and why you have created it. Do you want to share a little bit about that, what you do?
Yeah. I founded the group Happiness Reloaded, and I just took a look when that was. That was on the 1st of July last year.
Mm.
So we just came out of that first lockdown situation
Mhm.
in Austria here, and um, up to then, I realized that people thought, okay, that was kind of adventurous, but it's over now.
Yeah.
And as I'm an astrologer, I knew that that might not be over already. So in the astrological scene, they are quite clear about that it's taking a bit longer than we expected. And so I thought, okay, people might need that now.
Mm.
I mean, they might need it every time, but now it's more important to
Whenever. Yeah.
find a way to their inner happiness.
Mm.
Meaning, if we think back when we were kids, like we were 3 or 4, if you have some thoughts of that, you saw a butterfly or some clouds you liked, and you were like, wow, yeah, like this, yeah, like circus. Circus is
Mhm.
something that brings up that passion.
The inner child.
Uh, yeah, this inner child, right? And I thought, I know that there are ways to get to that
Mhm.
because I've been asked a lot within the last years when I struggled a lot in my life. I have to admit that,
Mhm.
but I never lost my like passion and my laughing and being happy. And I got asked a lot from people, why are you still laughing? So
How dare you still be happy after everything that happened to you?
yeah, how can you? And I always said, because that's the last thing I allowed them to take from me. I
Mm.
mean, nobody can rob you. You're laughing, that's
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
And especially as when I got self-employed, that was, I mean, that's another story, but it was a real bad ending of my job at the TV. And people there ask me, how can you still be so powerful
Mm.
and happy, and like you seem to know that everything will be fine at the end of the day? How can you have no job, you're 44, um, nobody needs a 44-year-old TV person. So how can you still be happy? That's what I said. I don't allow people to take that from me. It's
The
mine.
inner warrior.
And yeah, right. That's when the inner warrior wakes up, because mine is a bit lazy, but that's when he wakes up. And I thought, okay, I'd love to share that with the world. I'd love to give that to people. And so I started a Facebook group, which I was so overwhelmed because after 4 months, I had about over 400 members in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept inviting their friends. And so I started courses, like weekly courses. I call happiness mindset journeys, where people get those tools, the
Yeah.
tools to build a happiness mindset. And they seem to love it. That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about that. And I see that on the long side, you can combine it with astrology, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who want that, okay, if
Yeah.
someone says, no, I don't like that, it's okay.
Yeah.
Happiness mindset is not, you don't have to combine it with astrology. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And um, I can't believe how happy it makes me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You
Like
certainly feel that in your group. Like it's light, it's happy, it's entertaining, and it's literally a group where life isn't taken that serious, but not in a negative sort of way, in a very entertaining and light sort of way. And I believe that's exactly what people need right now, with all that COVID flaring up and down and doing its rounds and doing its thing. It's just like, I have to admit, like here in Australia, we are so blessed, in particular where I live in this area. I'm literally just south of Sydney. And I had 3 weeks in the whole time where we had to wear masks in the supermarket. That's nothing compared to what you guys had to go through, and there was not no lockdowns where we weren't allowed to leave the house or whatever. We had restrictions in terms of, how many people can catch up and all of that. But in comparison to the rest of the world, we live on an island like where we were so sheltered from the worst wave that you guys have been through, and nothing compared to Europe or America. What we have here is just really like in that little town where I live, we didn't have one single COVID case in the whole time.
wow.
So I'm very, very blessed, and I really appreciate that. But I've also just spoken to one of my best friends in Austria yesterday, and he said his daughter finds it really hard. She's struggling with that no social contact, and everything's just online. And, like having all these restrictions as a teenager, that's really tough. And not just for the teenagers, for us adults as well. I always believe that as there's both sides of the stories. The teenagers grow up with a lot more screen time anyway, and everything happens online. But also, like more than anyone, they do need that social interaction. And I believe for me, as a human race, we need love and connection. We can't survive without it, and everyone needs it. That's what combines us all. None of us is different, no matter where you live, no matter what culture, no matter if you're older, young, or male or female. We all need love and connection. And that is really challenging to do all of that online. Like I think that so often, because I run all my courses online. And there's obviously a huge advantage to that because people come from all around the world to do these courses. Yet I so often feel like, I always do that. I give you a hug or a virtual high five, and it's just not the same. Like that one thing that I really miss the most is to hug people. I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
Not everybody is, but I am. I'm a self-confessed hugger. I need that. And really, like that is the one thing where I'm like, oh my God, it's just a complete unrelated side story. I need to throw that in there. When Rob passed, one of my friends, she actually used to be my assistant when I worked in advertising, my previous life too, coaching and everything I do today. She came to the wake and gave me the biggest teddy bear that she could find. And it's like literally, I can't even show you that in the screen. It's like, it's huge and it feels really nice when you hug it. It's so comfortable to hug it. And she had lost a baby previously, and she said, and she was actually pregnant when she gave me that bear. And I was so happy for her because I knew that her little baby boy had passed 2 hours after he was born. And she said the best thing that she got as a present was a bear because she needed something to hug back then. It was so, it really got to me when she gave me that bear because the story was so deep and so beautiful. And yeah, it's just amazing. I think whatever we can do to support us and each other in this time where we all really long for this love and connection, I certainly feel that you're contributing very nicely with your group, Happiness Reloaded. It's just such a beautiful title as well. And it always makes me happy when I see things in there and when music pops up and I just always click on it and listen what's been shared and different stories. You know, it's light, it's easy, it's beautiful, it's connecting, it's happy. And I feel the world needs a lot of that. So Romana will post that link as well. So you can join the group if you wanted to. So yeah. Oh, wow. Romana, I could talk to you forever. We are almost at the end of our 1 hour here. And is there anything that you would love to share before we go? Some final words or emphasizing some highlights that were really important to you?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me, the most important thing is what I love to give people: be kind to yourself. So in whatever situation you are, if you're like grieving and you think, why can't I stop? Be kind. It takes time. Everything takes its time.
Mm.
And that's what I love to give to people, because most people I know, they are much kinder to everybody else but to themselves. And that's what I learned in that whole process, that the most important thing is that I'm kind to myself. I take my time for grieving, I take my time for laughing, and I take my time to be like furious. Even that, it's allowed. Yeah.
It's allowed, exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. It's absolutely beautiful. And, you know, I'm such a huge fan of Ellen DeGeneres, and she's always like, her final words of her show are always be kind to one another. And I love that. But I always actually use the be kind to yourself. And you didn't know that. But I love that you just said exactly that. I'm like, wow, they're exactly the words that I always use. Be kind to yourself, because it's such a, it's another thing we have in common. It's something that people so easily forget. You know, it's always like about other people around you, and we're usually quite good in being kind to others and helpful to others, and we're so good in putting others first. But you know, like all the flight attendants would know, put on the oxygen mask first before you help everybody else. And that is where that whole be kind to yourself comes in. And I love that you mentioned that, because it's something that we all need to remember and really live by. So with that being said, I can't thank you enough for being here, for sharing all these beautiful stories with us. There is just yeah, I think we really ticked all the boxes. There were so many things I'm like, I need to bring that in, I need to bring that in. I just love your whole background. It's so colorful and so beautiful. And that's exactly what sums you up. You're so colorful and so beautiful. And I feel very blessed to have you as a friend in my life. So thank you for being here, Romana. Thank you everyone for watching. And yeah, once you watch the video, Romana will post all her links and ways to connect with her below so you can get in touch with her. Have a beautiful day and evening wherever you are. This is Marie and Romana. Bye for now.